So, for years, we've heard this idea, right? That gaming could be this massive force for good, a way to channel billions of hours of player focus into solving the world's biggest problems. But what if, and this is the big question, what if that same impulse to make everything fun is also creating a massive, unseen problem? Let's dive into that paradox.
I mean, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, doesn't it? But this isn't fiction. Researchers are actively turning the skills you've honed in video games into a tool for real-world justice and scientific discovery. The core idea behind it all is something called human computation gaming.
And here's how it works. See, there are still these incredibly complex problems where our human intuition, our knack for spotting patterns and making connections, is just light years ahead of any AI. HCG takes these massive data problems and cleverly turns them into a game, motivating a global crowd of players to lend their brainpower. And we're not talking about simple tasks here. We're talking about turning gaming into some seriously high-stakes work. To do that, researchers have developed a really structured approach to turn incredibly complex data into something you can actually play. Okay, this diagram might look a little intense, but think of it like a roadmap. It's called the Game KG framework. It's basically the recipe for taking raw data, like a huge pile of documents, parsing out all the key relationships, building a knowledge base, and then, this is the cool part, injecting all of that into a game's story so players can interact with it. To see how this works in the real world, check out this game called Dark Shadows. It's a noir-style mystery where you play as a detective. You get these fictionalized case files, but the relationships between the people, the places, the events, all of that is pulled directly from real Department of Justice reports on human trafficking. The gameplay is actually you, the player, identifying these crucial connections that an algorithm might totally miss. Now, this idea of using games to solve real problems goes way beyond just one project. It's part of a huge movement you might have heard of called citizen science, and it's being used to tackle some of the biggest challenges in medicine, astronomy, and biology. And the applications are just incredible. With games like iWire, players are literally, and I mean literally, mapping out the connections in the human brain. In Foldit, they're helping design proteins that could fight diseases like Alzheimer's. And then there's Project Discovery, which is built right into the massive online game EVE Online. Players have discovered actual exoplanets. This is crowdsourced science on an absolutely epic scale. So this is what's happening under the hood. Players aren't just clicking buttons. They're building these super intricate knowledge graphs. The solid lines you see, those are explicit facts a computer can easily find. But the dashed lines, that's the magic. Those are the implicit connections, the insights that a human brain just gets. That's the stuff that's invisible to a machine. Okay, so everything sounds amazing, right? We're solving crimes, curing diseases, finding new planets. It's fantastic. But here's the twist. That same philosophy, making difficult things playful, is being applied in other areas, like in higher education. And there, the results are, well, they're pretty alarming.
And this brings us to the complete other side of the coin, the potential peril of trying to make everything feel like a game, especially when it comes to our own development.
This data is pretty startling. Over a decade where playful learning became this huge trend in universities, the percentage of U.S. adults scoring at the very lowest levels of literacy and numeracy actually went up. Now, of course, this doesn't prove one caused the other, but it's a really shocking trend that runs completely counter to the promise of these new methods. And this is the absolute core of the critique. When the goal is to solve an external problem, like analyzing data, gamification is a powerful tool. But when the goal is internal, to build knowledge, skills, and character inside a person, critics argue that trying to make learning fun can actually backfire, big time. One of the most concerning potential outcomes is what some people are starting to call a resilience gap, a massive disconnect between the skills students have and what the real world actually demands. Get this, a recent survey found that a staggering 46% of employers feel that recent college graduates lack the resilience and the coping skills they need for the modern workplace. And at the exact same time, student mental health data shows that nearly half of all college students, 47%, screened positive for depression or anxiety. It seems like the big push for less stressful, more playful learning isn't solving this deeper issue. This quote from researchers Sangwa and Ekose really just nails it. The fear is that if we make learning beautiful and fun, but we remove the need for persistence through genuine struggle, we might be accidentally stripping away the very character traits like grit and resilience that higher education is supposed to build in the first place. So, what gives? How can play be so incredibly effective in one area and potentially so damaging in another? Well, the answer really lies in the purpose of the play itself. This comparison breaks down the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got productive play. It has a clear external goal. It uses our human intuition to solve it. The stakes are real, and the outcome is a real discovery. But on the right, you see misaligned play. Here, the goal is to build an internal quality. But if it does that by trivializing struggle and lowering the stakes, the outcome can be the total opposite of what you intended: weaker skills and less grit. So when you boil it all down, in every successful example we saw, from fighting human trafficking to mapping neurons, the game wasn't the point. It was just a brilliant user interface for getting people involved in authentic, difficult, and meaningful work. And on the flip side, playful learning fails when it becomes an end in itself, when the goal of being fun overrides the need for authentic challenge. Growth, whether it's intellectual or personal, it requires struggle. By shielding learners from that productive struggle, we may be denying them the very experiences they need to become resilient and capable adults. So maybe the next time we run into a gamified system, whether it's for work or science or our own education, the question we should ask isn't just, is this fun, but something deeper. What is this play actually for? What is it asking us to do? And maybe more importantly, what is it asking us to become?